Good morning everyone. I am Dr. Abhijit Functions. I am a professor from one of the renowned Institute of Hyderabad, that is Malad Engineering College. So today we are going to deal with functions in C program. Okay. What is C program? C program was designed by Dennis Ritchie in the year of 1972. Okay, to convert machine level language to the high level language where a coder can understand the coding. In that C programming we are going to study about functions. What is a function? Function is a block of code in a C program which performs the particular task. Okay. So what does this function does? It performs a particular task and says the compiler will execute the function, okay, and it will give the result. So in this function we can divide the whole function into a subfunction here. So these divided subfunctions are called as subfunctions in C program. So when we divide these functions in subfunction, we can call these subfunctions multiple times. Instead of the total whole program, we can divide a whole program into a small pieces and we can call these in a form of subprogram. Okay, so these functions can be divided as subprogram. Next, so in the C programming, what is the structure of C programming? C program basically starts with header file, and then it starts with a main function. So what is main function? The execution starts in main function. Main function is the important body of a C program. Okay, so in this main function we will be declaring some variables and we will be writing some statements which a programmer wants compiler to execute the statement. Okay, so this main is also called as a main body function. Okay, so these functions can be divided in two parts. So there are basically two types of functions. So first part is inbuilt functions. Okay, in a normal English language, what does an inbuilt means? It is already built in the compiler. These functions are already predefined. So these functions are already predefined in the compiler. So it is already inbuilt. We'll be getting these functions in a ready-made mode. So that's why these functions are called as a inbuilt functions. Okay. So what are the types of inbuilt functions which we are using in our C programming? Let us assume printf, scanf, and all the mathematical functions like power, okay, and string handling functions, string len, string compare, string concatenate. So these all functions are called as inbuilt functions. Okay. Next, which is the other type of a function? That is user defined function. In a normal English language, user defined function. That means the programmer, the user should write a code. Okay, for this subfunction, the user should define the code as a subfunction. So here, user should define it. Whenever a user calls a subfunction, he should define it. Okay, so these type of functions where programmer defines, where programmer writes a code for these functions is called as user defined functions. Okay, next, let us move to the next. So what is the advantage of writing these subfunctions? See, if we consider a function as a whole program, so if we want to write a block and if we want to execute the block for 1000 times, we have to write that function block 1000 times. So it will be a big program. So it will be a hectic job. So instead of this writing a big program of 1000 lines, we can include the block which we want to execute for 1000 times. We want to include these lines in a subfunction, and then we will call those included subfunctions how many times? Multiple times. Whenever we want those 10 lines to be executed, we will be calling a subfunction. Okay, so these are the advantages. We can save the time, we can save the resource. Okay, and instead of making designing a program of many lines, we can reduce the size of a program by this function calling technique. Okay, let us move to the next slide. See here, in this slide we can see that this is the main function. In this main function we are calling a sub function. So in this sub function, let us assume we will be writing a program to add two numbers. Okay, so we will write that code in the sub function, and then whenever, how many times, unlimited times, whenever we want these 10 lines of the code to be executed in our main function, we will call that. By doing this, we will save the number of lines which we will be writing in a code. Okay, by using this function called technique. In this function call, there are three techniques. Whenever we will be writing a code for subfunction call, we need to declare it, because each and everything whatever we use in C program, it should be declared. Okay, so whenever we are using this function, we need to declare the functions. Okay, then after declaring a function, we need to define the function. What is the definition? Function definition. We should include the lines, we should include the block of the sub function code in this function definition. And then whenever in the main function, whenever we want this function to be called, that part is called as a function call. Here in the function call, we will be calling the function. Okay, see in this slide we can see that they have given the syntax, how to call a function, how to declare a function, how to define a function. Okay, so whenever we want to form a function, we will be using which brace. Whenever we want to create a block, okay, which braces we will be using? We will be using flower braces. Okay, can you observe in the main function, we start with the main and then we will use flower braces. In the same way, in if, for and all the statements, looping statements, conditional statements, we will be using which braces? Flower braces, to create a block of code, In the same way, here in the function call, in the function definition, we will use flower braces to create a block of code. Okay, see in this slide we have written a small program. Of adding two numbers using the technique of function call. Okay, see in this line, can you see? This line is called as a function call because we are calling the addition function here. We are calling a function. Whenever we call a function, it will directly see that the function is declared or not. So this is the syntax of function declaration. We should follow the syntax. We can't change the syntax. Keep in mind, when Dennis Ritchie invented this C programming language, he has defined some syntaxes for each and everything. He has defined some syntaxes. We need to use the function call and everything in the predefined syntax. We can't change the syntax. Okay, so we should write the function call syntax in this way. Okay, next, when we declare a function, next we will go to function definition. Okay, function definition. In this function definition, we need to write the block of code for addition of two numbers. Okay, in this we will write everything. So when we discuss about this function technique, okay, there are 4 categories in this function techniques. Okay, let us go through the categories of functions. Okay, see, there are 4 types of categories in the technique of function call. Okay, first technique. What is the first technique? First category is we will pass no arguments and we don't want any return value. That means main will not pass any arguments to the sub function, and main will not expect any return value from the sub function. So next type will be function with no arguments and with a return value. That means main function will pass no arguments and it will expect a return value. Next category will be function with argument but no return value. Next, which is the last category? Function with argument and with the return value. Okay, so now in the next session we will study these categories in detail. Okay, thank you.